Yeah. So let me also share my screen. My screen is visible. Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
And
great.
my voice is also clear. And if I use a mix of Hindi, English, is it okay? Or I should just stick to English? Anybody who doesn't understand Hindi?
Me.
Okay, fine. So I'll stick to
Yeah,
English.
please use both. I know because others they love Hindi.
No, no,
So I
that's
don't mind, sir, you using Hindi. So at least I'm also learning Hindi.
okay. So you keep this
Thank you.
session as a Hindi learning session also. No,
Yeah,
fine.
thanks, bro.
Yeah. So when we say philosophy, science, and
Do we
consciousness,
have people who want more Hindi?
let me ask a reverse question. Anybody who doesn't understand English, just Hindi, केवल हिंदी आता हो, ऐसा भी कोई है क्या? I think I'll take that as a no. That is right.
तो ठीक है, आपको इतनी एफर्ट करने की जरूरत नहीं है रुपेश जी।
ठीक है. Okay. So when we say philosophy, science, consciousness, what does come to our mind, right? So three words. So what I thought is, I'll just first touch upon these three words. What is the correlation and why we are studying this? So we'll spend some time on this and then we will move forward, right? So it's like philosophy, science, and consciousness, a kind of a three-way relationship. We can, out of these three, we can say consciousness as a supreme entity because, I mean, if you look at our scriptures, that is the entity through which we all are originating. I mean, each and everything in the world is originating, including ourselves, right? And then we are using philosophy and science to to go deeper into consciousness principles to understand what exactly is consciousness. So in a way we are you and consciousness is something that is driving philosophy and science. So in a way we are utilizing consciousness itself to understand it. It is energizing philosophy and science, and then we are studying the concept of consciousness itself. Right. So at a high level, if you look at the etymological meaning of consciousness, it consists of three words: con, sar, plus ness. So con is with, sar is to know, ness is, it implies like something which requires another entity to be in existence, to come into existence, like sweetness of a rasgulla or something, right? So sweetness doesn't exist on its own. Sugar or any other sweet, it requires that medium, right? So that is what ness means here, that consciousness requires a medium to manifest itself, right? So to know that, we know something, to know that, yes, we are aware of our thoughts, our emotions, our sensations, our sense of self, and ability to experience all these. So I'm just repeating. In the last week's session, I have gone through these concepts since there is a large audience now. So I'm just going through it again, right? Starting from the beginning. So that's the consciousness. So in general, what we say, the subjective awareness of oneself and our surroundings, that is consciousness, right? So we say that, yeah, right now we all are into this session. So we are conscious of this session. We are aware of this session, what I am speaking, what is happening around us. We all are conscious of that. So that is consciousness at a very high level. And then philosophy, we all know it's like, the wisdom, the knowledge, going deeper and deeper into the real meaning of life, real knowledge, truth, our existence, fundamental questions and all that, right? So there have been different philosophies. In India, we have this Indian philosophical system, six prime philosophies. Then Greek, they have had their own philosophy. Romans, they have had their own philosophies and all, right? So we are not going to go into details of individual philosophies, except some parts of Indian philosophy. So if you look at philosophy, it deals with the subjective experience, right? Not non-measurable feelings. So those things which cannot be measured directly. Whereas if you look at science, that is an objective phenomena. It looks for objectivity, the measurable things, something which can be measured through our senses, through an instrument and all. So that is a systematic study of physical and natural world. Through different observation, we come up with some hypothesis, then we experiment, and then we prove that hypothetication and all that. So this is at a high level consciousness, philosophy, and science. So science that is concerned with facts, philosophy with the truth. It is always in search of the truth of the life. And spiritualists, they are looking for enlightenment to understand the real essence of consciousness, Brahman, and then reach that state. So in developing the science of consciousness, one needs a lens of all these three: a spiritualist, a philosopher, and a scientist as well. So we need to have that frame of mind where we can imbibe the qualities of all these three. So with that lens, we need to get into this particular subject. We need to think from a philosopher perspective. We need to think from a spiritualist perspective. We need to think from a scientist perspective also. Right. So any question till now? Else I can move into the next.
So a very much dictionary-like answer we can write for consciousness in the exam, what we understand with the regular awareness and the regular philosophy. That's all we can write to describe these things, because these are very hard to explain consciousness.
Right. So
So
if
that
it is,
should be all right.
yeah, if it is just a simple question, let's say 2-mark question, if it says, just explain consciousness, then you can just write, this particular concept. But then there, as we move forward, we'll see there are different theories and different concepts of consciousness. So you will have to look at the question, what exactly is the context in which they are asking about the consciousness, and then you have to write, whether it is 2-mark or 5-mark or 10-mark question. So that is. So moving to next. So now, when it comes to science, right, it says that consciousness is both easy to understand as well as hard to understand. There are two philosophies. So there is a particular aspect of it which is easier to understand, which is like our cognitive, which is related to our cognitive abilities, right? So that is something which modern science, they are studying the brain structure, all the neural network and all. And then they are coming up with different theories, how we think, how we memorize, how we pay attention, how we think, all those phenomena, right? So to that, they are able to somehow give some structure. And that is something that is called as easy problem of consciousness. But then beyond all this, beyond cognitive ability and all, there is a subjective experience. Right. So when we say subjective experience is like, if you take example of this lecture itself, right? So there are say 10 people, 11 people, they are all of us are listening to this particular lecture, but everybody will have a different, understanding or different perception out of it, different experience, different learning out of it. Or another example that is generally given is you are seeing a particular color, let's say red color. So the redness that I am seeing and the redness that other people are seeing, is it really same? Or for that matter, if we compare it with a human or any other species, so does that red color appear same to them as well? So the answer is no, right? Red color, they may be seeing something entirely different. not only from the color perspective, but from the entire structure itself perspective. So this is all subjective experience, and this is something that is very difficult to measure, very difficult to prove. I the science can't go inside my brain and say, how I'm visualizing that red color. Is it dark red or it is light or what? Which shade of red and all that. So on one side, a slight objective kind of phenomena. So if we look at this particular diagram, right? So what lies within the circle, within this ellipse? So there is an stimulus coming, that is the input, and then brain is processing that, and then it is giving an output. So this is like our functional consciousness, the easier part, which science is able to understand. And if we look at this red rectangle outside it, which is the phenomenal consciousness. So that is something that is pointing to the subjective experience. And that is difficult to measure, difficult to quantify. And that is what is said as the hard problem of consciousness. And there is another term given to that, that is qualia. If you can see this on top, the subjective felt qualities of conscious experience, or what it feels like to see a vibrant red, or any taste, or any other, the physical pain and all. So that qualia, that a particular term is given to that subjective experience. Right. So this is very first person experience. So if you connect it with our spiritual experiences also, let's say I'm deep into meditation, I'm moving higher and higher, higher different stages. So those stages only I can experience. I mean, I can't describe that into words, or nobody, no external equipment can measure that particular experience. It can just measure the changes which are happening in my brain when I'm going through that process. But what exact is the subjective experience that I'm getting into, that nobody can experience. So is it making sense? It is complicated, or is it okay? You all are with me till now?
Yes,
Is it
sir.
easy or hard to understand?
Yes. Understanding.
Okay. Right. So I'm closing this slide with, so there have been multiple researches which have been going on for several years. As we will see, there have been multiple theories. They have come up with n number of theories. And still, this is work in progress. Still, it is not concluded. They are not able to catch hold of consciousness. It is, they move forward one step, consciousness runs forward two steps. So they are not able to catch hold of consciousness. So it is still work in progress. Whereas if you look at our scriptures, that is kind of a finished product. The sages, they have seen that phenomena in their intuition, their intuitive knowledge, and they somehow they have tried to document all those, even that is also, can't fully explain, but at least they have given some pointers using which at least we can think of something, we can correlate something, we can correlate with that consciousness, that Brahman and all. Right. So with that, I'll move forward. Yeah. So now what happens? As I said, hard problem, subjective experience. So I'm not able to explain that clearly. I'm not able to prove that clearly through a scientific experiment. So what I will do, I have to be nice in front of other people. So I'll try to come up with some theories which can actually say that, yeah, this is what is consciousness. So that is what, many researchers have been doing. They are trying to portray as if they have understood, or they have, measured the consciousness, and they have come up with different theories, different theories. So in principle, they have given, there was a scientist called David Chalmers. So he gave these 5 key pointers, 5 key critics around all those researches which have been done. Right. So what he did is he argued that much of the consciousness research often changes the question from why is there a subjective experience to how does the brain process information? So it is like cognitive processing. Rather than explaining the subjective experience, they try to explain the cognitive process itself. So that's the gist of it. Right. So you can remember these 5 points, 5 headings, and then you can write in your own terminology. The first one is they explain something else. When we are saying explain something else, so instead of the subjective experience itself, they are explaining the cognitive ability, the brain processes and all, the attention, memory, decision making, information processing, how brain is doing all this, they are explaining that. So this is the first critic that he gave, explaining something else. Second, we simply deny the phenomena. There is no subjective experience at all. What brain can, process, or what an instrument can measure, that is the only thing real. There is nothing like subjective experience. So they are simply denying the phenomena of subjective experience. It's very easy, right? They're not able to prove it, so just deny it doesn't exist. I don't believe in a supreme power, so I will become a Nastic, right? I don't believe in that. Then third one is claim to explain the experience. So again, it is more or less the same thing. And then fourth one is explain the structure of the experience. How that red color is structured. How is a feeling of pain, experience of pain is structured and all that. So they try to give that structure around that experience. So what Chalmers said is understanding structure is useful, but structure is not the same as experience. Experience is something different. And then the fifth one and the last one is isolate the substrate of experience. So this is again going into the brain processes, the neural network and all. So based on this, there are different theories. So one of the famous theories is neural correlate of consciousness. So this we'll see as we move forward. And then there are a couple of other theories as well. So what Chalmers said is correlation is not explanation. So we can just find the processes around the brain, how it is doing it. But then again, that is not the final subjective experience. So in nutshell, we have to remember that particular point that, all the science is trying to do is to build the theories around the cognitive abilities, cognitive functions, neural networks of the brain and all that. And still they are not able to reach to that point where they can say that, why this subjective experience, why this experience differ from one person to another person, whereas the brain structure and all that is same. The object is same, the brain that is trying to understand it, that is also same, but then subjective experiences are different. So this could also be a 5-mark question. Give the strategies adopted by uh, 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 Charmer to critique the researchers. Right. So like I've quoted another example here. So you consider two systems, right? One is a conscious human being, and today's in the world of AI, you have a robot, perfect robot, which is exactly behaving like us. So, but then even though the robot is behaving just like us, but is it really conscious? So that's the question here. I mean, if we look at many call centers today who are running their AI agents based call centers, so we can clearly see that difference, right? Sometimes we feel no, we need to get into touch with a human who can actually understand our feeling, but then we are not able to. We are just running behind that AI agent, getting the same answers, robotic answers again and again. So they are not conscious, but then they are behaving as if they are really conscious. They are aware of the things. Okay, so yeah. Any question is getting confusing or okay to move forward? Okay.
You're able to
So
understand.
yeah. So even if certain things are confusing, don't worry. As we move forward, things will become more clearer and clearer. Okay, let's move. So what I'll do, I'll skip this particular slide. I'll come back. Otherwise, I think it will become too heavy for now. So another important question. So yeah, and just one thing. So the way I have tried to put this PPT is I've tried to use SLM plus Anantaranga sir's PPT. So I've tried to use these two things to the maximum possible extent. And wherever I felt that, the information that is there is not sufficient, I've gone to the online search as well and took certain inputs from there. Right. So you will find a mix of these three things into this. Right. Because again, if you look at SLM, certain things are not structured in a very efficient way. So I've tried to put a different structure here so that you can understand. So now this is another key concept which is given in SLM, 7 stages of consciousness. So actually, as such, I couldn't find any direct reference in a scripture. I'll be searching it again, but just try to understand the concept that they have given in the SLM. So what they have done is 7 stages are defined here, starting from zero consciousness, a state where we have zero consciousness, to a state that is equivalent to infinite consciousness, the Brahman, the universal consciousness, the consciousness of oneness. And then everything lies in between zero and infinity. So those constitute the remaining 5 stages in between. Right? So then it is said that consciousness is not a fixed energy or quantity, right? So it varies from a person to person, like the awareness, the consciousness. It varies from an individual to individual. And within an individual also, it varies from time to time, from day to day, or even within a day. Sometimes we are, not able to focus, not able to pay our attention to something. And at some point of time, we are highly attentive, highly aware, highly conscious. So all those variations are there. Right? So, and it also depends how we are utilizing our energy in our day-to-day activities, how we are preserving our energies from our day-to-day activities. So, as I said, consciousness, it can vary from zero, which is our deep sleep, dreamless sleep, to a cosmic consciousness, which is the infinite state of consciousness. And out of these 7 states, very few people are aware of, most of these initial 2, 3 states. Yes, we all go through that. But then subsequent states, very few people are aware, or even if aware, very few people would have experienced that particular awareness. So moving forward. So what is the first state? So don't get confused. So we will see, different contexts in which the consciousness is. So this is one way in which consciousness is categorized. Same way when we will move to when we see the consciousness as per our scriptures. So we will see consciousness as per Bhagavad Gita, as per different Upanishads. So there it is categorized in a different manner. So we have to see the context in which we are studying or in which the question is being asked. So the first state is deep dreamless sleep. So this is a state where we are into uh, a very deep sleep. We are not even seeing any dream or anything. It is beyond our subconscious. So we have a conscious level, subconscious level, and unconscious level, right? Three levels as per modern psychology as well. So this is like a third level. We are not aware of the conscious. We are not aware of our subconscious. We are into unconscious, and this is very closer to the self-realization. It's just that we are not aware of this state, that state. So body doesn't exist for us, mind doesn't exist for us, entire external world doesn't exist for us, even our internal senses doesn't exist for us in this particular state. There is no other. Even we are not also not there. Right? It's kind of a complete blankness, complete unconscious state. So this is the first deep dreamless sleep, and that is where we are saying zero consciousness. And then from here, as we move to slightly dreaming state or waking state, our consciousnesses start coming into play. So the second state is dreaming sleep. So here our subconscious is active. We are living our own whims and fancies in our dreams. Our subconscious is throwing, all our suppressed thoughts, suppressed emotions, desires, memories into the dreams. Different kinds of movies are playing in our dreams. We are slightly conscious of it, but then we just simply forget as soon as we wake up. That entire dream world collapses. Right? So this is the subconscious, slightly higher level of consciousness. We are slightly conscious here. So that is dreaming sleep. And if we equate with Mandukya Upanishad, the states of consciousness. So the first one that we see, that is the dreamless sleep. So that equates with Mandukya Upanishad. Second also, and the third one that we will see, that is also. So these three are exactly the same as given in the Mandukya Upanishad. So you can correlate these with that.
Shushupti, Jagrat,
Sushupti,
Swapna,
Jagrat,
Swapna,
Swapna, and
Turya.
Turya. Yeah.
Turya.
So here we will not see Turya because modern science doesn't talk about or doesn't directly accept that Turya state. So we'll see that as we move forward.
This one is the modern science we are doing.
This one, as I said, I mean, I couldn't find this particular reference anywhere. So I was again doing the search, and if I'm able to get hold of something, I found something in Yoga Vashishta, but couldn't go into much detail whether it is exactly mapping with this or not. So I'll just check that again and then come back on that. For now, just try to understand it based on the quantum of consciousness. That's it. So then the third one, that is the waking sleep. So this is actually waking state. Why they have added waking sleep here is because that is actually our real state today. I mean, though we are in a waking state, we are doing certain activities, maybe at our job or at our home or in a society. But at most of the times, we are like in a lost state. We are doing something, but then we are not fully conscious, fully aware of that. We are just doing the activities, just going with the flow, mechanically, robotically. As I took that example of robot and human, right? So kind of we are most of the time we are acting like a robot, right? So, right from the moment we wake up, the cycle starts, and then we continue to move into that cycle robotically. Sometimes we become conscious that, yeah, this is what I'm doing. But I would say 80-90% of the time we are into. So that's why they've used this waking sleep. That's the standard state of most of the. So minimal objective awareness of the self, of one's experience. So we are not aware of our true nature here. What is our true self? We are not aware of that. We are just aware of the external realities or external world, body, mind, external objects, external activities, and all that. So this is the waking sleep. So here we have the entire. So in the first state, we didn't had any external world, body, mind, nothing existed. In the dreaming state, we have at least mind, he was playing all these movies in front of us, and we were identifying with those dreaming movies. And in the third state, we have this body, mind, and all external world awareness of mechanical awareness of all these body, mind, external world. So another example that they have given is when we compare it with animals and all. So we feel that we are supreme, we have consciousness and all, but in reality, we are so only difference as compared to animals is our intellect, our consciousness, right? Otherwise, if you look at the four prime base thing, ahar, nidra, bhay, mathun, that is the common between the humans as well as animals, right? Only differentiating factor is this consciousness or the intellect. So in this state, though we pretend to be superior than those animals or other species, but in reality, we are not at that level. So now as we move forward, we will see that in the subsequent state that, yeah, we are able to use that capability to actually reach to a higher state, to actually differentiate ourselves with the other species. Fine. So moving forward.
It's called sleep, or three types of sleep mostly. They are putting it under dream, awake, walking, waking. Waking is also sleep, and dream and dreamless, they all come under sleep. So that's the way
Understood.
they are explaining consciousness. That's
Yeah,
a very different
yeah.
way,
In
no?
with the waking, sleep word is coming because of these reasons which I said, right? Because we are not aware, we are not really conscious.
You
I mean, though
mean
apparently we are conscious.
enlightened? You
Yeah,
mean
enlightened.
the consciousness on the level
Enlightened
of
is
enlightenment?
yeah, enlightened is still a higher stage. The sixth stage or seventh stage. I'm talking about the basic awareness of, what we are we aware of our breath?
Okay, that will
If we, if I'm awake for 16 hours, out of that 16 hours, how many minutes I'm aware of my breath? How many minutes or how many seconds I am consciously breathing, unless I'm doing a pranayama or breathing exercise. So that's the. So then the fourth state, that is the permanent self-awareness or objective consciousness of self. So here, what is happening is you have done some practices, maybe some spiritual practices, some studies and all. And then you have started understanding that, there are two things. One is the physical aspect, and then another is the consciousness aspect. Purusha, Prakriti, Kshetra, Kshetrajna, if you look at Bhagavad Gita, all those, dualities. So we are gradually becoming aware or conscious of our inner self also. So even though we may be working in day-to-day life, doing our activities and all, but yes, we have that basic understanding of ourself, our true self. And in that light, we are doing our activities. So if we look at in the third stage, in the ordinary sense, what happens is, we resist a lot of things. Why it is happening with me, why this problem. We resist the flow of the life. But in the fourth state, we start accepting, whether it is something is happening good, something is not happening very good for us. We start accepting all those realities with an open mind, like a Ishwar Prasad, with that understanding, that I have a true self that is not getting impacted by all these. These are just external manifestations of the reality. So that's the fourth state wherein the consciousness is going to a next level. So there is no quantification that is given, but then if we started from 0, so let's say second state is 10, then third state is 100. So this state may be 1,000. So I'm just giving this number, nowhere these numbers are given. So, but in that sense, we have to see these 7 stages. It's getting confusing or it's okay?
Is it basically contemplation after having understood what is awareness or what is consciousness? Is that the stage here?
Yes. So we can, to some extent, we can equate it to, if you could recall Bhagavad Gita, Sthita Pragya, Yoga Rudha,
Right.
Atma Jnani, all those terminologies which were used there. So this is something like that state. We have started understanding our true nature.
But we may not be able to live by that standard, but of course we probably are aware and we try to be more responsive in response.
Right, right. And still we have a strong feeling of I, me, and all that. The my individual identity. And as you will see, as we were moving to seventh stage, our individual identity is getting dissolved gradually. So that will be the difference as we move forward into fifth, sixth, and seventh state. That will be the prime difference.
Right.
So awareness we have developed, and now gradually we will dissolve our individual identity, our separatedness with others. We will start developing consciousness of oneness, not only with other humans, but other entities, other plants, animals, and all our surroundings. Right. So then fifth state is samadhi. So here, as you can see, they have used our scriptural term samadhi because it's difficult to find an English equivalent of samadhi. So they have used that samadhi word as is. So what is happening here is in the fourth state, you have developed that understanding, and then you are, doing some meditative practices. So when you are reaching a higher level of samadhi, so the definition of samadhi itself says that the difference between the meditator, the meditative process, and the meditative object goes away, vanishes. All these three things merge. So as long as we are into this state of samadhi, we will have that feeling of oneness. We will forget ourselves. We would have merged with the process that we are doing and the object on which we are doing that meditation. For maybe few seconds or few minutes, depending on the time duration or depth of the practice, we will have that feeling of oneness for some time. But the moment we come out of that practice, come out of that samadhi, we will be back into, let's say, the fourth state. We will be as good as that fourth state person, but not below that. So this is where we are getting the first glimpse of universe, first glimpse of the Brahman, the oneness with Brahman. Individual soul is getting the experience of oneness with the universal soul. This is the first time in the fifth state wherein that is happening. But when we are coming back, obviously we will have a slightly higher level of consciousness, what we have had in the fourth state. So it's not like a sleep state. In sleep state, whatever mind state we take into the sleep, almost the same state we wake up with. There is no higher state that we get in the morning. But when we go into the deep samadhi, deep meditative state, even for a few seconds, the next waking state that comes, that is at a slightly higher state. Right. So Yoga Vashishta, he has given very beautifully here. Antah shunyo bahi shunya, shunya kumbha ivambare, antah purno bahi purna, purna kumbha ivarnave. So it's like he is empty within and empty without, like an empty pot in the space. तो यदि हमने एक पॉट रखा हुआ है, खाली पॉट हवा में, तो वो पूरी तरह से खाली भी है और नहीं भी है, राइट. एंड सेम वे यदि एक भरा हुआ कोई बॉटल है जिसको कि हमने पानी में रखा हुआ है, ओशियन में रखा हुआ है, तो सेम एनालॉजी, राइट. So the same analogy they are giving for this consciousness here. So we don't need to remember this shloka. It's just an analogy that is given here. Right. So moving forward.
So, Rupeshji, this fourth state, you've mentioned enlightenment. The word enlightenment is mentioned there. So, it's an awakened state.
Awakened.
So, that is enlightenment, the fourth state.
So see, that is the problem that happens when we start using English words, right? So as we'll see in the subsequent stages also, those are also like enlightenment stages only. So that this is the fourth stage is like the starting point. We have become enlightened in the sense that we have become aware of our true self. And that is the starting point. And now we can move further and further and further deepen that awareness, that sense of understanding of true self. Now moving further higher into consciousness, sixth state, that is called as unity consciousness. So as we progress in our expansion of identity, right, or merging with totality, integration with the self, state of samadhi that starts gradually strengthening. So in the fifth state, as long as we are into that samadhi state, we are doing that practice, we have had that glimpse. But in this sixth state, even when we are coming out of samadhi, we still carrying that consciousness, that feeling of oneness. So I'm transacting with the world. I'm doing all my day-to-day activities with that awareness. I'm maintaining my individual identity, my individual ego, but at the same time, I know that I'm doing it just because of that supreme identity, supreme oneness. There is something that is powering my individual consciousness. Without that, I am nothing. So I'm always acting with that awareness. I have not dissolved my individual uh, identity, individual consciousness is still. I'm maintaining that. So there are many sages, many gurus who just remain in this state because they want to serve the world. They want to give the knowledge, whatever they have gained, to the world. So they just remain in this particular state. They don't merge their entire identity. They don't move to the seventh stage. They just remain in the sixth world, transact with the world to impart, or let's say, bring many other people to a different level of consciousness. Bring many people from zero level consciousness to third level, fourth level, fifth level of consciousness. So then the final one, that is the seventh state, that is the cosmic consciousness. So now here, no duality. Individual consciousness that has completely merged with the universal consciousness. There is no duality whatsoever. So there are hardly any people who would have attained this stage. It's very difficult to name them. But then this is the final culmination of the consciousness. This is the entire infinite consciousness. There is nothing beyond it. If you look at Patanjali Yoga Sutra, the Kavalya, the final destination that he has given, right? So that is this. So complete merging of individual self with universal self. So like the last statement that they have given, when enough of humanity, maybe as little as 5%, reaches the sixth or seventh states, all of humanity will be pulled up and infused with more consciousness, so that all of humanity awakens to bring God awake on the planet. Humanity will move into a golden age of love and cooperation beyond our imagination. So even if 4 to 5% of population can reach to this state, their aura, the impact will be so huge that even other people who are not actually practicing all these things, they will also be taken up to a higher level. They will also move beyond a individualistic approach, and then the good will prevail throughout the universe, throughout the world. So that is what they are saying around this. So yeah, it's a bit lengthy, but then yeah, gradually evolving process. So we have to see it conceptually, understand the flow, rather than just trying to remember this. So just understand the flow, how the consciousness is moving from 0 to the 7th level, and then you can definitely write in the exam. It would be most probably a 10 marks question. So you can just read the SLM also once, and Anantranga service PPT also once, and try to correlate whatever I have said. So, and you will be able to take it through. So I'll just take a pause here. Any question, any doubt till now?
Yes, please. Since I'm looking at the SLM also, and
Yeah.
since it's a very kind of you know lot of explanations, different ways. So when they ask us the question, so what the way you explained,
Yeah.
just these 7 states, it is a mix and match of the SLM and the teacher's thing, right?
Yeah.
And okay, but then you're gonna further take it as per the different Upanishads. Is that what you said?
Yes. Yes. So
Okay.
there they have defined it. Each and
Mhm.
every Upanishad has taken consciousness in a different manner, except Mandukya Upanishad, which more or less resembles with the first three the states of consciousness. So, but this entire flow, this is given in a different way here, and that this is something. So we just can remember the names of the 7 levels at a high level, and then the flow, how the consciousness is evolving, and then based on that we can uh, write there. So 0 to infinity, that is one key thing to remember. So then moving to next slide.
Rupesh Bhaiya?
Yeah.
Yeah, any living example of 7th stage?
I mean, I can think of, when Shri Krishna ji took this avatar. Otherwise, I'm not able to think of. To some extent, maybe Ramana Maharshi,
Okay.
right? So he was really into that stage. And probably rest all, I would say 6th stage. I mean, if you look at our Guruji also, Dr. Nair, probably he also lies somewhere in the 6th state, and a lot of other. I mean, there are many who would pretend
Yes.
to be in
They are
6th
around
also,
us also.
right? So we have to be very cautious.
Right, right.
So that's why Guruji is now doing this research
Yeah.
where he's going to prove scientifically. And we had this person come to the university who can go in Samadhi. So he
Mhm.
sat and he showed us how he goes in and comes out. So we even tested him on the scales, we measured him.
Cool.
So like that, but he's also in the very initial samadhi because then Guruji brought him to understand Patanjali Yoga Sutra because Guruji is trying to show that Patanjali Yoga Sutra is practical, and he was giving us many examples of many other masters around different lineages who were speaking quite against against maybe Hinduism or whatever. So
Yeah.
Guruji very nicely, because he's a scientific man,
Right.
he proves things. So then he was saying that I went to, for example, what was that, Vipassana, the problems that were coming in Vipassana. It's a long story cut short anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is like a really really good thing that's going on. That discussion we are having today, like Ekjotji just asked, maybe in some time we'll have a different form of discussion where we won't be saying, oh, we don't know. So I think we'll be able to quantify to some extent, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see what the future holds.
Yeah. So a lot of studies are happening around consciousness. This is one of the key focus of studies of science today, right? Because as the science is progressing, they are more and more converging towards what our scriptures have been saying, what our Vedantas have said, right? So it's like the convergence is happening gradually, and I think Guruji's objective is that only, to uh, uh, prove all these things scientifically.
Yes.
Right. So I think I'm just give me a moment. Where were we? Sorry. Okay. So as I was saying, there are multiple theories which have come up for consciousness. So there are two parts to it. We'll see both of these. One is the Indian philosophical view, what Sankhya and Yoga tells about consciousness, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutra, Upanishad, different Upanishads. So that is the philosophical view. And then what is the view of modern science? What are the different theories? So we're not going to go into details of all these theories, but just to have a high level view that, yeah, these are the different theories which are going on or have been proposed around consciousness. Right? And none of these theories are still perfect, still evolving. So we'll see all these as we move forward. So now consciousness as per Bhagavad. So before I go into this, let me see if I want to cover that particular slide that I skipped. This one. So I'll just confuse you people again slightly. So metaphysics of consciousness. So first of all, what is metaphysics? So this I've taken from Anantaranga sir's PPT that is there, and there may be a brief question on this, so I thought it's better to cover. So metaphysics is the study of the reality, right? So moving beyond what science is, physics is studying, the fundamental nature of the mind, fundamental nature of our existence, that is the metaphysics. So what consciousness actually is, whether it can be explained by matter or how is the subjective experience fits into the universe. So this is the study around all these concepts. So now there are different theories depending on whether it is said that consciousness is a byproduct of brain, whether it is not a byproduct of brain, it is something fundamental entity, or whether it is a combination of these two, or whether there is a third entity and all these are offshoot of that third entity. So all these variations constitute one or the other theory here. So the first one is materialism, physicalism, right? So this is sort of a monism. It says that matter is parent of mind or consciousness. So consciousness is originating from our brain. That's the key idea behind this. It doesn't exist as an independent entity, as our scripture says. It is just a byproduct of our brain, our mind. And if you look at this diagram also, this one, right? So it is physicalism. It says matter is greater than the mind. So physicalism, this is shown as a solid circle, half circle here, and the mind, that is shown as a dotted half circle here to depict this particular phenomena. Then second one is idealism. Again, it is a monism. It says that mind is the parent of matter. So it is the reverse. So it says that reality is fundamentally mental or immaterial. So here the mind is given primacy. So mind is greater than the matter. That is what is said in idealism. So here it is represented as a dotted half circle, which is showing the physical aspect, matter, and the solid half circle, that is mind, right? And then third one is the neural monism. So both mind and matter are form of something else. So if you look at this particular diagram here, the small circle, 1/3 circle on top, that is shown as solid. So that is the third entity. And both mind and matter are shown as a dotted line here at the bottom. So both of these are offshoot of this third entity. So that is the neural monism. So when we talk about monism, they have given three theories basically: materialism, idealism, and neural monism. These three. And then when we move to dualism, it says that mind and matter are independent. Right? So mind exists independently and matter exists independently. Both do not have any direct connection as such. They transact for the bodily activities and all, but then their existence is independent of each other. And then within the dualism also, they have given three different concepts. I'll not go into that. And then another key concept is panpsychism. It could be a small 2 marks question, panpsychism. So what it says is consciousness is not a large stage evolutionary development, but a fundamental building block of the universe. So each and every particle entity of the universe is fundamentally conscious. And as these individual particles, entities join together, the consciousness level starts increasing further and further and further. But even the minutest particle of the universe has some level of consciousness, whether it is able to express or not able to express, but it has some amount of consciousness. So that is the idea of panpsychism. Right. So these are the certain terms that, if not for the 5 marks, but probably for the 2 marks question, we would need to remember. But in case they just ask a 5 mark or 10 mark question that explain the metaphysics of consciousness, then you need to write about all these terms. Right. So, so once you go through this maybe 1 or 2 more times, it will start making more sense. So since you're maybe listening it for the first time, so maybe 30% is going inside, 40% is going inside, but then gradually it will start developing. Okay, then yeah, this we saw. Now I think probably it will slightly be easier to understand because the scriptures we all understand. So in the philosophical part, first one that I've taken is consciousness as per Bhagavad Gita. Right. So for a moment, if I mean, just forget about this slide. If I ask any one of you, what is your answer about this? what we think, what Gita says about consciousness. Anything that comes to your mind, right, wrong, don't worry about that. Just say something. Anyone?
All pervading, doesn't cease to exist, or it doesn't, there's no death, whatever.
Correct. So
Not bound by time, space.
right. What else?
It's present
So,
everywhere. There's no space where it doesn't exist.
Right. So
so
that
Gita,
entire chapter 2. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
it's calling, Gita's calling body as Kshatriya, no? And Krishna says that true self is the knower of the body and mind, not the.
Correct.
So it says
Kshetra and
Atman is
yeah.
Atman is pure awareness, yeah.
Yeah.
And one consciousness is expressed through many beings, something like that.
Yeah.
Through many beings, just as one sun is illuminating.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So that is
And
another view that he has given.
yeah, and so it says that the practice is about shifting that that I am the body to I am the witness of consciousness. Yeah.
Correct.
And something like that. Yeah.
Right. What else? Right. Right. So yeah. So primarily in second chapter, then 13th chapter, and one more, I think 7th chapter and 15th. So there are different places where he has defined consciousness, Atma, with a different terminology. So primarily the second chapter, the Sankhya Yoga, the first thing that he starts telling Arjuna, when he was into that deep anxious state, the very first thing that he starts talking about is about consciousness, about Atma, all these properties of Atma. Right. So there are multiple shlokas. I mean, if we start listing down, though I have listed many shlokas here, but still there is much more beyond that. So if the question comes around this, explain the consciousness as per Bhagavad Gita. So just try to recollect whatever you can and just write that. Remember some key shlokas. Remember some key shlokas from where you need to take that input. So if you could by heart couple of shlokas, very good. If not, then still don't worry. Just remember the essence of those shlokas, and right. Right. So we'll start with the chapter 2. So in chapter 2, this I took from Sriparna Didi's PPTs. She very beautifully gave this 7 features of Atma. If you could recall from your Bhagavad Gita subject, 7 features of Atma. That is one of the key um, topic in Bhagavad Gita. And for us also, it was a 10-mark question that came in Bhagavad Gita. Define the 7 key features of Atma. So the similar thing we need to use here in this topic. So that is what I have listed here. The first is Satya, Nitya, then Sarvagata, Akarta, Abhokta, Nirvikara, Aparameya. So I think Anita Didi or somebody took all these um, explanation just now. So it corresponds to all these. And then what I have tried to do is I have tried to associate couple of shlokas with this each and every term. So when we are saying Satya, which is like independent reality or intrinsic nature, right? So it's not like body that perishes. So Atma, it has the independent existence. And Anatma, that is body, that is the dependent existence. So that is why it is called as Sat, and body is called as Asat. So there are a couple of shlokas, 2.16, 2.20, 2.23, which correlate with this particular this thing term. So you can take a look at that. I have not quoted the shlokas here. If all of you want, then maybe in the next class I can try to cover the shlokas as well. But for now, I have not included those shlokas. Then the second is Nitya. So Atma manifests in the body as life. And after the body is dead, Atma is still exists, though in an unmanifested form, right? It starts looking for another body, another birth. But there is no dissolution, or there is no non-existence of Atma. So it is Nitya. It's just like the space in an empty pot. So that space still remains when the pot is broken. So again, I have listed a couple of shlokas here, 2.12 to 15.16, 15.17. All these three you can correlate with this. Then third one is Sarvagata. So because Atma is the cause of the entire creation, so it is present at each and every place. It is Sarvagata. So the example is given as light beyond hand. I mean, if you put a flashlight towards the sky, though you will not be able to see that because there is no reflecting medium in between, the light still exists. So if you put a hand in front of the light will reflect on your hand and you can see the hand. But if you remove the hand, light is still there, but you are not able to see. So it is Sarvagata. It exists in each and every space within ourselves, in each and every entity. And then Akarta, since it exists everywhere, so there is no space for it to move. So, and if you look at the science principle that if you want to do some work, you need to move. Then only it is said that you are doing some work. So, since it is present at each and every space, there is no scope for it to move. So it is said as akarta. And since it is akarta, it is not doing anything. It is abhokta also. It is not generating any phala. It is not getting impacted by any karma phala. All that belongs to us, our body. And then nirvikara. So any changes in the body, right from the childhood to our last moment, our body goes through several changes, right? But then something within us that remains same. That is consciousness, that is Atma, that is our true self. That remains same throughout. It is not getting impacted by any physical changes, any emotional changes, any of our activity, whatever we are doing. And the last one is aparameya. It is always an experiencer. It can never be experienced. So as we will see in the Kathopanishad or Kenopanishad, so it is the I behind the I. It is the mind behind the mind, using which mind actually thinks. It is the power using which our eyes can actually see. It is the power using which our ears can actually hear. So it is that. So it is never an experienced object. It can never be an object. It will always be an experiencer, the one who is driving all the experiences. So you can remember these seven or recall these seven terms again and use this for your answer. So this is one aspect. And then chapter 7, it defines in a slightly different way in terms of lower prakriti and higher prakriti. So again, it's the same thing. Lower prakriti is like our body. So that consists of couple of, it's like our senses and all those kind of things. And then there is a higher energy, which is Jiva Shakti or soul energy. That is what we are saying as consciousness here. And that soul energy is sustaining the lower energy, because of which our body is working, because of which all the physical entities are working. So these two terms you can remember, soul energy and the material energy. The Jiva Shakti or the lower Prakriti, these things. And in one of the shloka, Krishna ji says that everything rests in me, just like a beads strung on a thread. तो जो माला होती है एक तुलसी की माला या कोई, तो उसका जो thread है, that is what is consciousness, that is holding everything together, right? So that is the equivalence that is given here in shloka 7.7. And consciousness is the force behind both living and non-living. That is the shloka 7.9. And then when we move to chapter 15, here it talks about in terms of Purusha, almost similar to the Sankhya philosophy. So perishable Purusha, imperishable Purusha, and another third level of Purusha, which is beyond this perishable and imperishable. So perishable Purusha is our body, our physical aspect. Imperishable or Akshar Purusha is our soul energy, our soul, Jivatma, which is like our individual soul. And then the third entity that he has given is Purushottam, Parama Purushottam, the something which is beyond all these two. So it's like along with our individual Atma, our Jivatma, a tinge of Purushottam also resides in us, which, keeps a record of each and everything that we are doing, our individual soul, our lower nature. So 15th chapter talks about these three things in terms of consciousness. And then this as per chapter 13, Gurpreet ji, as you were talking about Kshetra and Kshetragya. Right. So 13th chapter talks about that. So Kshetra is the field, the physical aspect, our body, using which we are playing, our individual soul is playing all this movie of our life. Right. And Kshetragya, the knower of the field, is the individual soul. So all this is given in shloka 13.2, 13.3, and all that. And then Kshetra is said to be consisting of 24 elements, just like that Sankhya philosophy. That is given in shloka 13.6. And then in 13.7, again, this desire, aversion, happiness, all these emotion kind of things are also connected with our consciousness, and that is given in 13.7. And then 13.23, 13.25, 13.33, these also have given couple of analogy connected with sky. So just like, a lot happens in a sky, but the real nature of a sky, it never gets impacted by that. Dark, light, so many things happening. So then this consciousness is equated with that nature of sky in these shlokas. And then this figure was given in Anantaranga sir's PPT, so I've used that here. So the first diagram that we see, you all are able to see this, right? My laser pointer and the diagram. So the first one, which is like gray in color. So there is a slight bulb kind of thing which is being shown here. That is our individual spirit, individual soul. And this entire ellipse, this represents our body, mind, our physical aspect. So our individual soul residing inside us, and then this body. So in normal way, what happens is this individual soul that is completely forgotten. So that is why it is shown as gray color here. It is completely hidden in our physical structure, in our day-to-day activities, in our deep thought patterns. we are not conscious of that individual soul, our true nature. That is completely hidden here in the first state. So you can correlate with the level of consciousness also that we were seeing, right? So it's like kind of first three states of consciousness. Then the second one. Here we start realizing or start understanding, we have started understanding this true self. It is starting lighting up, right? So you can see it, in a different color here. And this body mind also in a different color given here. But the whole depiction is all about this one, that, the emergence is coming. Individual soul is coming into prominence gradually. And the third one is here, as I said in one of the shloka in chapter 15, he is talking about three entities. One is the perishable Purusha. This is our physical aspect. Imperishable Purusha. This is our individual soul. And the third level, Purushottam Purusha, which exists in all entities. This is the larger level of the higher circle, Paramatma, that is shown here. And that is lighting up our individual soul. So this is the depiction of the chapter 15 that is given in this particular diagram. So this is very beautifully represented here. So that's why I've used this diagram as is here. Right. So the first state that they have given is that they are calling as state of ignorance. Then the state of knowledge, that at least we are aware here. We are aware of our individual self. And then the state of realization, true knowledge. This is coming here. Right. So again, you can correlate and come with that 7 states of consciousness. And is there anything else in Bhagavad Gita? No. So this is all about Bhagavad Gita consciousness. Any question till now? Any doubt? Anything? Fine.
So the best way, what do you suggest answering the question? We should just, whatever we can remember, just keep writing. Or do you?
Yeah. So what I will suggest is, if I go to, sorry, previous. Yeah. So first of all, you remember these 4 chapters, I would say. Chapter 2, chapter 7. I mean, which chapters we are referring, right? So chapter 2, chapter 7, chapter 13, chapter 15. So we are taking reference from these 4 chapters. From second chapter, it's primarily these 7 aspects: Satya, Nitya, Sarvagata, Akarta, Abhokta, Nirvikara, Aparamaya. From chapter 7, these 2 key terms, lower Prakriti and higher Prakriti, or soul energy or material energy. So just remember the chapter and the key terms that are used there. Similarly, chapter 15, these 3 kinds of Purusha. And then chapter 13, that Kshetra and Kshetragya. So at least this much you have to remember, and then around this you can put up your pointers, right? So that will give you good enough marks there, even for the 10 markers. So in a way, you are covering all the key points and just giving, 1 or 2 line descriptions of each and every aspect.
Here, 10 marks question also can come from this
Yeah.
consciousness Bhagavad
Yes,
Gita.
yes, yes. It can be there. So
Okay.
they can simply say, define consciousness as Bhagavad Gita, or define consciousness as per different Upanishad. Like in our case, they give entirely altogether a different question. How, compare Upanishads as per Kena and Kathopanishad. So sometimes this is the pattern that I am seeing, not only in this subject, in other subjects also I'm seeing that, they twist the question slightly. I mean, they're asking the same thing, but from a slightly different angle. So if you're clear on the concept, then you can quickly grab the essence, what they're asking. and then answer that, because I got confused with that, because I read about Kena, but somehow I never read about Kathopanishad. So what I did is I wrote about Kena, and somehow I could remember that Kathopanishad analogy about the Ratha, if you remember. So in Kathopanishad, there is it has given an analogy of consciousness, our body and all, with the Ratha concept, the chariot.
Yes.
So I used that to answer that question.
Okay.
So this is a subject wherein, if some question you feel you have not read it, just try to recall whatever you have done right from, not only from first semester, but all your spiritual readings, journey, whatever you have been having, and then try to correlate.
Okay. Thank you.
Fine. So, okay. So another favorite topic of SVSA, Sankhya and yoga. So as I was telling that day also, Sankhya you will find in, I think, every subject, and you will find in every paper in some form. Sankhya philosophy, Eva, right? So be it alternate system of healing, be it this subject, and then what else? I forgot another subject. So it is there as well. So yeah. So, what does Sankhya talk about consciousness? So, again, an open house. You all can answer based on your studies till now. Consciousness as per Sankhya. What do we think about it? Anything that comes to your mind, just go ahead. Anybody?
So consciousness is Purusha, the pure
Yes.
witness.
Yes.
So they make a very, this distinction that between Purusha and Prakriti, that Purusha is pure conscious and Prakriti is nature.
Right.
So then they have all this under Prakriti, body, mind, intellect, ego, that all.
Right.
Mind is, yeah. So basically, Purusha and Prakriti, they are kind of elaborating that and telling how purified self is going towards Purusha, and the rest percolates into Prakriti. Yeah.
There are so many Purushas are there.
Yeah. As many Purushas as there are individuals, right? What else?
It is Dvaita Darshana.
Dvaita
And there
Darshan.
is-
Yeah. Purusha Prakriti. So two concepts. So
So,
Dvaita. Yeah.
it is the oldest Astika Darshana.
Okay. Yeah, and it goes hand in hand with yoga, right? So yoga Sankhya we
Yes,
generally
as
talk.
in yoga, Ishvara Sankalpa is there. In
Right.
Sankhya, Ishvara Sankalpa is not there. The Acharya of Sankhya philosophy is Kapila Muni.
Yeah.
All the other philosophy are take Sankhya philosophy. Vedanta also depth 24 tattvas from Sankhya philosophy.
Okay. Yeah, Bhagavad Gita is also has that reference. Right? Bhagavad Gita is also using that. Right. Yeah. So by and large, yes, this is what the consciousness of Sankhya is. So that is it is saying as a starting point. So if you look at the overall evolution process, so everything is starting from Purusha. So in the beginning, it is just the Purusha and the unmanifested Prakriti, as is depicted in this diagram also, right? So till the time there is no movement in Purusha, there is no evolution. And as soon as Purusha starts playing with Prakriti, the evolution process starts. And then I think I'm not going to the entire evolution process. So it's cosmic intelligence first. So gradually this individualization is happening, right? So unmanifested Prakriti, there is no separation. It's just one. There are no trigunas, nothing. And then the play of trigunas starts appearing, and then individualization starts happening. So first is the cosmic intelligence, then further ego. The ego is getting solidified gradually. So then sattva part moving to the mind, then to karmendriyas and gyanendriyas. The tamas part moving to 5 tan matras, and then further solidification into 5 tan panch mahabhutas and all that. And that is where, and then all these objects, and even we all are the different combinations of these panchabhutas, gyanendriyas, karmendriyas, and all. So this is the entire play of Purusha, starting from the zero uh, uh, plane. And then at the time of dissolution, the reverse process starts happening, right? So going back from all these entities to trigunas, then to ego, to buddhi, and all that. So again, as we were seeing the characteristics of consciousness in Bhagavad Gita, more or less same things are coming here as well. So in fact, you can use the same terminology that this is akarta, like non-agent, non-enjoyer in itself, abhokta, self-luminous. It doesn't require any other entity to survive. It is or to lit itself. It is self-luminous in itself. Right, and yeah, Purusha, Prakriti separate. Purusha is the passive and unchanging observer. It is, as we saw in the Bhagavad Gita, it is the experiencer. It can never be the object or the experienced object. It is always an passive observer. It requires a medium of Prakriti to experience the world. Right? So that is what is happening here. And it accepts many Purushas. So each individual Purusha, and each Purusha has its own journey, right? So all Purushas will be in their own spiritual journey. Some are reaching towards the self-realization. Some may be far behind from self-realization. So as an individual Purusha progress on its spiritual journey, it may attain self-realization. So for that particular individual Purusha, the Prakriti doesn't exist, but it exists for all other Purushas. Right? So till the time we have existence of all these Purushas, we will have the existence of Prakriti. But the moment, I mean, this is a theoretical thing, the moment all the Purushas attain self-realization, then gradually Prakriti will also go to the involution phase, because the purpose is served for the Prakriti, right? And what is the path to liberation? It's discriminative knowledge. The true consciousness is separate from the material world. That leads to the liberation. Liberation of consciousness from the cycle of suffering. So this is the difference in Sankhya and Yoga. One is, as I think somebody said about the Ishvara, the difference of Ishvaras. Sankhya doesn't, it is like Nirishwar Yoga. It doesn't accept Ishvara, and Yoga is Sa Ishwar, Sankhya. So yoga accepts Ishvara. And then this one, as per Sankhya, the path to liberation is just the knowledge. The moment you get that knowledge, the discriminative knowledge, you attain moksha. Whereas yoga says that knowledge is one aspect, the viveka is one aspect, but then before that, you need to go through that Ashtanga yoga, all that purification, mind purification process also, that Patanjali Yoga Sutra, right? All those yama, nema, all those 8 processes. So that's the primary difference. Otherwise, in terms of consciousness, as such, there is no difference in terms of Sankhya and Yoga. More or less, both talk about or accept the same philosophy of Purusha. The sage and seer, the Purusha and Prakriti, and all that. And then yoga defines, just like we saw the 7 states of consciousness, similarly, yoga, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it gives different stages of consciousness, with the highest state reaching to Kaivalya. So if you could recall that Patanjali Yoga Sutra, or somebody is appearing for that exam, so Asampragya Samadhi, Sampragya Samadhi, Sabija Samadhi, Nirbija Samadhi, and all that. So there are different stages of Samadhi or consciousness for that matter. Right. So you can take a reference of that as well when we are talking about consciousness as per yoga. So that is not given in Sankhya, but that is given in yoga. So this is all about. So Sankhya and yoga ask, who is conscious being that experiences the mind, body, and work? Right. So with this question, all these philosophy start. Right. So any question? So we saw as per Bhagavad Gita, we saw as per yoga and Sankhya. And now we will move to Upanishads. Okay, so moving to next. It's okay to continue for another 25 minutes. Okay. Okay, now coming to Upanishads. Anybody wants break for 2-3 minutes? We can take a quick break and then come back, or we can continue. I'll just have a glass of water. Just give me a moment. Okay. So, any thoughts? Upanishads क्या कहते हैं consciousness के बारे में? We have how much? Yeah, go ahead.
Mandukya Upanishad is the Avastatraya Nirupana.
Right.
Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti.
And the fourth one,
Or
that
the
is?
fourth, Turiya. Turiya.
Yeah.
It is the witness of all these 3 states.
Right. Very nice. So that is one example of one Upanishad.
Auma. Based on Aka Auma. Om. Mandukya Upanishad. Explain Om.
Yeah. So see, Mandukya Upanishad, such a beautiful, just 12 shlokas, just 12. And as you, in one of the Upanishad, I think somebody has said that, because there are 108 Upanishads. So what he has said is, if you have time.
Mandukyam Evam. Sri Ramachandra advises Hanuman, I think. Only one Upanishad. There are so many Upanishads that's there, but one important one is Mandukya. Mandukyam include all or the I'm difficult in English, but
but you're saying the right thing. So, like we have 108 Upanishads, right? What it says is, if you have time, you read all those 108 Upanishads. If you don't have time, then the next set is given 32, right? You read 32. Even if you don't have that time, you read 11 Upanishads, 11 key Upanishads, right? That we generally read. All these Katha, Kena, Mandukya, Manduk, Taittiriya, all these. And if you don't even have time for these 11, just read one.
Upanishad, main one.
Just read
all
one
the
Upanishad. That is Mandukya. right? So, and that gives this three states of consciousness. It breaks Om into A, Oma, and all that. Very beautifully given. What else? Any other Upanishad that anybody can think of?
So the consciousness in the Upanishads, it's not just the conscious. They say that it's not merely witness the inside. It takes it a little bit further. Isn't it true that it takes it to the Brahman? So like
Yeah.
it has all these, Tattvam Asi,
Yeah.
Aham Brahmasmi. So all that. And so Sankhya the consciousness is with Purusha is a witness, which is separate from the nature, isn't it? And then in Bhagavad Gita, it is like the true self, which is witnessing consciousness in all the beings.
Yeah.
Then in Upanishads, the consciousness is just not. It's just not the witness. It is it is Brahman. Like it's Brahman itself. It is the very essence of reality.
Right.
So that kind of is how.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
And
all are the same.
they all are the same. And
Brahman, Atma, true self, all are same, one thing.
right.
Bhagavad Gita also using the Mahavakya Tattvamasi.
Right.
Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Upanishads. Sarvo Upanishado Gavo Dokta Gopala Nandanaha.
Beautiful. Yeah. So yes, you're right, Gurpreet. And there will be certain variations in presentation depending on there. We will see three metaphysical school of thoughts, right? Advaita, Dvaita, and Vishishta Dvaita. So then those three, I mean, though they are talking about the same thing, but then they approach the Brahman in slightly different way, right? So all these Brahman, Jagat, Moksha, all these philosophy, we will see all those in detail because that is also one of the key questions. These three thoughts, Advaita, Dvaita, Vishishta Dvaita. So that also we need to see. But then yes, in essence, the consciousness that we are talking about, that is equated with Brahman only in Upanishads.
The word meaning of Brahman is Brimhyate iti Brahma, which means all all is one is everywhere. Brimhyate means
Okay.
one is everywhere.
This is, you remember, this is from which text?
I don't know, my Acharya in Vedanta class, he says Brimhyate iti Brahma.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for.
These are the names we given to our true self. There is no separate name Brahman.
Okay.
Upanishads using the word, the experience is the only one thing is Satyam. So many words, Atman, Brahman, they are all same, different names. Also, all Upanishad have same, but same explaining the same thing in different ways.
Right. Yeah. So that is what we'll see, right? So concept is same, entity is same, but then each and every text is defining it in a different way. So, so Mandukya Upanishad. So in a way, we have already covered this. So this is the shortest Upanishad, right? But yet it gives the most systematic framework of understanding the consciousness. So as we will see in other Upanishads, so there it is slightly difficult to catch hold of because they are defining it in very abstract terms. But here it's easy to correlate with our day-to-day life. And then it maps all these existence into this sacred syllable of Om, aligning each phonetic sound with a specific state of consciousness. So verses 1 to 2, they talk about the self and the absolute. 3 to 7, it talks about the four level of consciousness. And finally, 8 to 12, that talk about four aspects of Om. And then mapping it with these four levels of consciousness that is given in 3 to 7. So the first quarter or first state, the typical name that is given there is Vaishvana, Vaishvanara. That is the waking state, Jagrat state. So here the consciousness, we are conscious of the external world. And that external world is defined by 7 limbs and 19 mouths. So 19 mouths are like more or less what we saw in the Sankhya philosophy. And 7 limbs are these, I think, Panch Prana or what I just forgot. Just give me a minute. I'm just missing that particular part. I think either it equates with 5 elements and Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara, or 5 pronouns. So that I'll check and then put that in the group, right? So this
Please
is
repeat. What are you saying? What equates with what? Can you please
so
repeat?
what they have said is in the waking state, we are aware of the consciousness that is the external world.
Panchendriyas. Panjendriya experience through
Panch.
Panjendriya, Panchakarmendriya, Panjajnanendriya.
Yeah.
Panjajnanendriya and Panchakarmendriya. Karmendriya is 7 hole. Nasik in nose 2 holes, eyes 2 holes, mouth 1, ears 2, anus and there are the karmendriyas. I forgot the
That's okay.
Sanskrit
So
word.
we don't need to remember. I'll put that in group in anyway. So yeah, what they are equating here is the physical world, the external world. What they're saying is, the waking state, who is conscious of the external world, who has 7 limbs and 19 mouths, symbolizes the various channels through which this consciousness interacts with the world, including the physical senses, actions, and mental faculties. So when consciousness is interacting with the world, it is utilizing these channels, the 7 limbs and the 19 mouths. So that is the analogy that they have given. So I'll put that in the group on the contents of these 7 and 9 and 19, this thing. Right, so this is our waking state. So we are completely aware of our existence, of the external world, our senses, external senses, our mind, and all that. And then when we move to Tejasa or the dreaming, the Swapna state, so here the consciousness moves internally. So we are in a way disconnected from the external world because we are sleeping actually, right? But our subconscious mind, as we were seeing in that 7 state of consciousness, so our mind through our subconscious state, that is generating some dream movies and all, and that is getting played in our mind. So we are cut off from the external world, but then our internal senses are giving the inputs to the mind, and then mind is creating its own stories. Right? So our internal senses are at work, our subconscious mind and internal senses. Whereas in waking state, our external senses and the conscious mind is at work. So that's the difference in the waking state and the dreaming state. And it also has the 7 limbs and 19 mouths, but at the subtle level, not at the physical level. So many times it happens, right? When we suddenly wake up or recall any dream, we get those sensations. So all that is happening through our internal mechanism. And then the third state is pragya, which is deep sleep. So we neither we have the conscious mind nor we have the subconscious. We have moved beyond these two. We are into the unconscious state completely. So external world doesn't have, exist for us. Even the internal world doesn't exist for us. Right? So we have completely merged with something we don't know with what. Right? So here's some overlap is happening. Just give it. So no consciousness here. No external dealing, no internal dealing, nothing. And this state is again very close to the self-realization state. It's just that we are not aware of that. So I've given this comparison table here. So the first state, which is waking, so that is equated with the A part of the Aum, A, and the direction of awareness is outward. And if we see the experience, it is gross or physical world. That is what we are experiencing. Let me switch on the pointer. The first row, right? Here. Then in the second one, the Swapna state, it is equated with oo sound of the Om. The consciousness is inward, and we are experiencing the subtle world, the mental world here. We are moved beyond the gross. In the third, the deep sleep, it is equated with Ma sound of the Om. It is unified or dormant, unconscious. I mean, neither it is outward nor inward. And this is the causal of blissful ignorance. Right? So it is not saying bliss state, but it is blissful ignorance. We are not aware of that bliss. And the last one is Turiya, the fourth. That is the complete silence after Om. And that is transcendental. No outward, no inward, beyond all the gunas and all, the eternal reality. So this mapping you can remember. And if you could write this in the exam, then it is going to give you full marks for Mandukya Upanishad consciousness. And then some analogy is given here. So Turiya is like gold. So Turiya, it's not that, so it has a tinge of it in all these prior three states, waking state, dreaming state, and the deep sleep state. So they have given this example here like gold. So be it any shape, be it a bangle or necklace or ring, ultimately it is gold only. The essence of it is gold only. So gold is beyond all these forms, but then it is the essence of all these three. So same way, the Turiya state also, it is the gold. And this is the essence of all these three states. So Turiya, pure consciousness, that is driving Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, all these three states. Right. So this is small Upanishad, and you can remember this particular. Any question in this? Else I'll move forward. Okay. Yeah. Now I've taken three things together here. Brahma Sutra and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So this is given in the SLM also, but it is not coming out very clearly. First of all, the way the text is put, that is one problem, and then the connection is not coming out clearly among these. So I've tried to put that connection here. So what does Brahma Sutra say about consciousness? So it refers to Brahman, the Supreme Self, not merely the individual self, because the Upanishad describes a distinction between the individual and the Supreme in deep sleep and at the time of death. So individual soul is not aware of the internal and external worlds in these states, while the Supreme Soul, being the source of all consciousness, remains aware. Though different in awareness, but not ultimately different in essence. So by and large, the same thing that we were talking earlier also. So here what it is saying, the individual self and the Supreme Self. Right? So at the time of sleep or at the time of death, though the experience is same, but the individual self is not aware of that particular state. Whereas the Supreme Self, it is aware of all these states, what is happening in these states. So that is the distinction that is given here in the this particular Brahma Sutra. So it is using 3-4 key terms. One is the Bhedna, that is difference, like difference between the individual self and the Supreme Self. And the Sushupti, deep sleep, Utkranti, which is departure of death, and the Bhedna, that is difference. So it uses the deep sleep teaching as evidence that the ultimate subject of the passage is the Supreme Consciousness, not the ego mind individual. Right? And more or less the same thing, same connection is given in the next, which is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 4.3.21. So this is the state, deep sleep, which is beyond the desires, free from evils, it is fearless, just as a man impressed by his beloved wife, know nothing external or internal. So this person impressed by the intelligent self knows nothing external or internal. They have just given that analogy here. All desires are fulfilled, in which the self alone is desired, in which there is no desire or nothing is felt to be lacking. So it's like all when they are saying all desires are fulfilled, it doesn't mean that all our material desires are fulfilled in this state, in the deep sleep state. It's just that there is no feeling of any desire here. We have moved beyond all those desires. So, right, that is the analogy that they have given. So in this state, we are beyond all our desires, all our sorrows. We want nothing else but the Supreme Self. So for the time being, as long as we are into that deep sleep state, that duality temporarily disappears. We merge with that Supreme Self. Whereas in the waking or dreaming states, we have all the kind of experiences, right? We go through sorrow, we go through fear, we go through different kind of attachments and all that. And then deep sleep gives us an unconscious glimpse of the true self, the real ultimate state. And if one can be conscious in the deep sleep, then that is the liberation from the bondage. And that is the state that we all are targeting to be. But it doesn't happen because of the thick layers that we have created around our mind. Multiple, right from the child. In the childhood, we are in almost closer to the true self, right? But then our conditioning starts happening from family, from society, from school, college, corporate, and all those coverings. And then we just forget our true nature. And then, so in fact, this is the key concept behind this yoga nidra also, right? This is the state that they want to take us. So conscious sleep. So this is 4.3.21, and then 4.3.32, it is just giving us It summarizes the culmination of the teaching, the realization of the non-dual consciousness. How does it look like? So it's like a pure water. He becomes one. So if you see the pure water, there is no distinction. I mean, all the molecules, all the particles are completely merged among themselves. You can't take out an individual element from there. That is the world of Brahman. So the sage Yajnavalkya, he is giving this knowledge. I mean, this Upanishad is all about this interaction between sage Yajnavalkya and Janaka. So this is the highest goal that he is saying. So he has used the Param Gati word here for this highest goal. Highest attainment, Param Sampat word is used. Highest world, Param Loka word is used. Supreme bliss, Param Ananda word is used. And we are all beings live only in a fraction of this bliss. So there is another analogy of happiness in one of the Upanishads, right, which gives the different levels of happiness, starting with a 1 unit of happiness of Manushya till the infinite happiness of Manushya. I think 11 levels of happiness is given. I forgot the name of the Upanishad. Is it Taitri Upanishad, I think, if I'm not wrong. So that similar kind of reference is coming here. So this is consciousness at a high level as per Brahma Sutra, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So I think 2 or 3 more are remaining, but let's take a pause here for today. And we can just see if there is any question or anything. And then we can wrap up with that quick question answer if there is anything.
So, like you were telling, the Kathon Upanishad was the one that was given to you to compare, which in the exam. But that's
Yes.
not in SLM. Is that what you're saying? Is that not one of the?
In SLM, they have given Kenopanishad, but Kathopanishad is not there.
Oh,
And
so they
Kathopanishad is
asked
not.
out of syllabus.
And Kathopanishad not even there, I think, if I'm not wrong, in Anantaranga Sir's PPT also.
Wow. So
So,
we got to know everything.
but in the next slide, so I'll cover in the next session that both of that, Kenopanishad and Kathopanishad. So I have included that. So we will go through that as well. So with that, I think we'll complete the Upanishad part. And then we will move to the subsequent teachings of these philosophical aspects. So in philosophy, primarily we have this consciousness concept, then these 3 school of thoughts, Advaita, Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, and then great Mahavakyas. So with that, I think by and large, the philosophy will be complete. In consciousness, we have already seen this philosophical concepts, and then I'll briefly cover that modern scientific theories as well, one by one, gradually as we progress. So I would say this constitutes almost 50% of, not 50, more than that, 2 units. Two, 2 units, because there are 3 units, right? One is philosophy, second is science, and third one is consciousness. So what I'm doing is I'm merging philosophy and consciousness, because these are in Asalam also they have done some sort of duplication also, like Mandukya Upanishad, you will see they have defined it and given in first chapter and then later in subsequent chapter also, and all that. So, and then we'll move to science. Right. So so hope you are able to get some comfort now on this subject.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Bhaiya.
Right.
Thank you.
So any question? Otherwise, we can wrap up.
Today's
No
class
question?
started off really well, Rupeshji. Thank you. And
Thank you.
getting some grasp of it and getting some confidence for sure. It was just one of those, very scary moment thing. But now it feels normal. It feels doable. Thank
You'll
you.
get through even like this philosophy is and consciousness that in any way, even if you're not from science background, it's not an issue. Even science part also, I'll see, even if somebody is not from the science background, how I can make it understand. So that also I'll see. Fine. So let's close with a prayer. Eyes closed, hands in Namaskar Mudra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashyid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. That's it. Gently rub the palms with few blinks upon the eyes. Thank you, Hari Om.
Thank you,
See
sir. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Bhaiya. Thank you.
on Thursday.
Thank you, Bhaiya, very much. Thank you,
Bye.
Bhaiya.